Okay, so here we go. Health effects of voluntary exposure to cold water, a continuing subjective debate. So it's a 2022 paper published in the Circumpolar Journal of Health, which basically means people that live close to the poles of the planet. So in pretty harsh conditions. Let's look at the abstract. It's a review based on multiple surveys in published literature to determine the effects of health following voluntary exposure to cold water immersion. So it's looked at 104 studies, and the studies demonstrated significant effects of immersion on physiological and biochemical parameters. So some of the studies were based on winter swimmers, but many were performed on subjects with no previous winter swimming experience or not involved at all in cold water swimming. So this would include people who are using cold water immersion as a post-exercise treatment. Now, it immediately picks up on some of the weaknesses of a lot of the research around cold water therapy, which has always been the case, that they're often small groups and of one gender, and there's no uniformity. There's a lack of consistency in the execution of the study. So we see that, temperature, salt composition, things that could have quite a dramatic impact on the results observed. So across the studies, there's no uniformity. There's no sense in medical research of what constitutes the ideal immersion temperature, etc. So it does mention in this very kind of overview level that it does seem to transform body adipose tissue. So this is the brown fat tissue that we see in human beings at kind of around the top of our shoulders and heading down our core. So this is tissue that the body can burn basically to generate heat. So it's a really useful effect to take into the cold water for sure. Talks about insulin, in reducing resistance to insulin and improving insulin sensitivity, and looking at a protective effect against cardiovascular, obesity, and other metabolic diseases, and prophylactic health effects, which just generally means that, it helps promote health. But the telling kind of thing here is that it says winter swimmers, but it broadly it's anybody participating in cold water immersion. It can have beneficial effects, but there's not enough evidence here to be conclusive. So the topic will continue to be debated as to how effective cold water therapy actually is. So let's look at the introduction to the report. It correctly says, many forms of the activity, some have been clearly defined. Winter swimming, which I'm not going to talk primarily about winter swimming, it's not really my lane. Countries with colder winter climates, again, doesn't really apply in the UK. Still relatively mild, especially in 2023, 2024. It's been a really mild winter. And the thing that really interests me, especially this year, is the extremity of the temperature. And interestingly, the report includes articles where the water temperature is up to 20 degrees, which in the conventional kind of mainstream of cold water therapy would be considered to be very warm, far warmer than we would normally expect. But, compared to the blood temperature, the ambient temperature inside our bodies of 36, 37 degrees, 20 is still pretty cold. So I found that really interesting. Okay, so let's leave it there and we'll jump back in with some future posts about the depths and the details of the report.